Boom.
Hey everyone, welcome to LC Podcast number 37. With me today is Matt,
Hello,
Grayden, Erik, and Peter as behind the camera on the computer. And today we are going to talk about how we've become the connected.
the connected.
The connected.
Connected.
So,
Connected.
You are connected. You are connected.
Well, the challenge with implementing any new brand and trying to create a community is that community needs something to be named. And we came together and decided that instead of being connectioners or livers or something like that, we've
the
decided,
alive ones.
the living.
We wanted to go with past tense instead of present tense.
Yeah. Well, we've decided to open every video with the connected.
The most important
Because
thing is
that's-
that you put your hands together.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think this
Connected.
is something we get to choose. I'm pretty sure this is something the fans decide
Actually,
what they call
That's
themselves.
kind of an interesting concept. Do you think that is usually how it goes? I mean, I feel like for the Game Grumps, they're like, they call their viewers lovelies. I don't think lovelies would have taken it upon themselves.
I thought they were gonna be grumpers or something.
Well, yeah. I mean, you know.
Grumps.
I mean, I guess it's the same thing.
Well,
like,
the grumps are like the
No.
two dudes.
No.
Oh, I'm
no,
sorry.
that is the community.
no, what? No, not
hey,
really.
I'm grump. I'm not
The
so grump.
grumpies.
Jarrod
are the-
is well known for his Game
Nah.
Grump fandom.
Yep.
You were an expert of culture.
I've taken a few courses.
Are you communications?
Matt, you look upset.
I want you to listen to me very closely. I'm not
okay.
laughing because it's not funny. In the course of my degree, which is named Communications and Media, I have taken many courses either directly under the Department of Communications and Culture.
Did you
or
get
just
scammed online,
taken-
Matt?
Are you
courses.
enrolled in Trump University?
Matt, here's the question. Here's the real question. You said many. So how many courses, not under the tree of education, but specific courses have you taken that were culture?
Okay. This semester, I'm in one communications class that's called Popular Culture.
Okay, so that's one.
I'm also in the senior seminar of communications, of which the focus of that specific section is
What was-
visual culture.
Okay.
Last semester, I did a class on. I was a Greek and Roman studies, one that doesn't count. A couple of comms ones. One of them was something about images, or which we analyzed images
Memes?
that circulate within culture.
So would it be more appropriate to say you don't necessarily study all of culture. You study a very specific area of culture, which is communications between people within a culture.
Or do you
it's-
study society?
It's communications and media, and I feel like
So that's
media.
Yeah, but media is communicating between people.
Yeah, but media is also like, the way that we communicate. I send you a meme. No, hear me out.
How does
I
that
send you a
make you
meme.
feel?
I send you a meme. I send you a meme of Baby Yoda, top text,
You mean
something
Baby
like.
Nut?
We'll get to that. Top text is like, "Hello, Jarrod." Second one is "Send me rent." It's a meme. I sent you a meme. I communicated a message to you with a meme. That meme circulated in popular culture because it came from The Mandalorian, which is an important show that everybody's
Is
watching.
popular culture like a pool you just put
No,
something through?
no,
Then it's
so-
like, aha, it's wet with popular culture.
So that's what I said. You study a very specific portion of culture, which is communication between people within a culture.
Well,
Because
yes,
you
that is
literally
correct.
you literally just said I use a meme to communicate with you
Okay.
something of popular culture, which means that you
Oh,
specifically.
man. Those were your words that you said.
The ball's in your court.
Roll back the tape here.
Okay.
Don't make me edit more, please.
Let's open up another facet of this discussion.
Okay.
Because there's something that I don't know that I want to ask about.
Yep.
I've never taken an anthropology class. Usually people are like, you don't study culture because anthropology is the study of culture. Erik said that like before the podcast.
Well, it's
I
like
did say
historical culture. So like studying a culture is generalized. Studying specifically an area of culture would just be a specific like theme of culture.
So does anthropology exclusively study cultures of the past, or does it analyze like
No.
present culture?
There's
does
there's
present.
anthropology courses that talk about current day society and culture.
Maybe even future
I
culture.
can't believe that Jack went to Australia on the day that, like a few days after.
Jack who?
Before we talk about the course, what he went to university for.
Oh yeah.
No, like
Who's Jack?
Anthropology is
Oh,
definitely
me.
like a very it looks over culture as a whole, and they'll delve into a lot of different things. Whereas I feel like a communications degree delves more in depth to the communication within people or between people within a culture, because it's everything you talk about is between people. So yes, it's part of culture, but it's specifically the communication between people within a culture.
But I mean, so you're right in that it's like one aspect of it or like one element of a culture, but I feel like you get to learn a pretty solid amount about how cultures operate, especially if you're looking at the way that they communicate with each other, because it shows a lot about the status of the culture. So I sent you guys an article title, which was my argument in it because somebody started roasting me about it. And it was called Self, and then in brackets, Selfie Discipline. The article is basically about how like people like when selfies first became a thing, they was like mercilessly like mocked by people, right? And like basically the paper argues that this was like a kind of a veiled way of just kind of like being misogynistic basically, and just kind of oppressing women and disciplining women as to what they could put online, which is like a big concept that kind of spans a lot of different like
Well, that goes into
disciplines.
sociocultural aspects.
Yeah, like
of the
it,
world.
like Foucault and stuff like that, right? And so, you know, in that aspect, you're analyzing how, you know, selfies became a big part of like pop culture, like to the point where, you know, you get chain smokers #selfie, or you get like, you know, when the adults and the brands finally catch on and they're like selfie, or like the Oscars selfie that like blew everybody's mind, right?
Adults and the brands.
Well, I mean, it's just like how I heard,
We're adults.
I heard like a local Calgary like made commercial where they said ha 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 rip, and that's how I knew that we could no longer say that word. So
then is it
Rip
fair to
to
say
rip.
that communications delves into pop culture? Because everything you've mentioned so far is all pop culture.
Carbonated pulp.
Because culture itself is
Soda
a
culture.
very
Yeah.
big category of, like, you're talking everything within communications, hierarchy, interaction. You're talking about historical standpoints, how they developed, how they've done. Thank you for the reinforcement, you guys.
I'm overwhelmed.
So
by
that's what I
culture.
said. Is it would it be fair to say that communications is, unless you start taking like historical communications of cultures, would it not be fair to say, because do you guys look into how cultures do I don't know, grow food? Do you look into how cultures do have developed over time with technology? Do you guys look in? So pop culture. So is it fair to say communications?
no, I'm nodding because like those things that you mentioned, I've done classes on, or like I've had classes that focus on those elements. So
In communications?
yeah,
Like,
well, so there's communications and media, which is what like I and a lot of people are getting their like bachelors in, but there's also communications and culture, and I don't know if it's like actually its own department or something that you can graduate in a degree in. It's just like another category of courses that all comm students are required to take. So, you know, in that way you can kind of consider it as part of like what I have to study. You know, to be able to get a communications degree, I have to study classes in this element, right? And there's one on modernity, which is like goes really into detail about like the what was considered to be the modern period, because I think technically we're in the postmodern period, right, Eric?
I think
Yeah.
so.
So like that modernity refers to like a certain period of time and like the things that came out of that time. So like in that, like it was communications and culture class, learned about modernity, was going like did a big unit on like Renaissance England when there's like factories and stuff, and like the quality of life was like outrageously poor. Like that's all stuff that we have to learn about. And like you gave another example too where like well, it's communications history, so I mean it is still focused on like the development of like books and the development of the radio and the development of television and stuff like that. So I mean,
because the reason I talk about this, I'll use my major as an example. So I major in exercise and health physiology with a minor in rehabilitation. So it's like I specialize in rehab and physiological adaptations of the body, but I wouldn't say that I'm knowledgeable about every aspect of health. I wouldn't say I don't say I study health. I would study a very specific area of health.
yeah, well,
I've taken classes where I've touched on just about everything, but I would never say that I am knowledgeable enough in those areas to say that I study that area. So
Well-
that's more what I'm saying. I'm saying communication is a very specific study of something. It's not just culture.
You know, the whole time we're having this really like sophisticated conversation, I constantly glance over to whatever's going on.
Hey,
Erik-
that's culture right there.
Eric did say that
that's how
was
I
going to
led this
distract
off.
us throughout this podcast.
Yeah.
But like, so what you're saying is to say that you study a certain concept, like, because that was the words that I used originally that started this whole thing and put me in my rage.
We've been
I
on this
said,
topp for too long.
I know. I was
All
going
right,
to string
I'll
my.
wrap
I was
it
gonna
up.
string mine out
Peter's
there.
got the water pistol.
if I say,
Do it.
well, you know, it's an
Do it.
important.
Is that a challenge?
I dare you.
Dang.
I have the
He was-
power here.
he was not
Remember this moment.
It's an important ideological debate. You came to this podcast to hear intellectuals
Hey.
speak about topics of all kinds. And that's what we're here to do.
Oh God, no! He's dead.
Sit down.
Are we allowed to do that?
This is unprofessional.
You know, this is why we can never put these podcasts on Spotify, because there's too much stuff like this.
You know,
It's like-
I have the water gun to say, hey, it's time to switch topics.
It's never worked.
and
Peter.
and Jarrod just comes in, the giant behemoth he is, and fucking just manhandles me.
What would you prefer? Either he takes the water gun away, or the person just takes the water gun like the shots and keeps talking through his bullshit.
Are you referring to Evans?
Yeah.
You know, Peter, if only you had two of those.
You could be a Kimbo.
Dual wield.
So,
Okay.
speaking of communication,
Okay.
do you want to know what I communicate?
Video games.
Can I say like one more thing and
No!
then we can move on? Because like he asked me something, I was in the middle of formulating my response, and you're just like, end it now.
I did not.
Come on, let me have this.
I'm starting a timer.
I will leave the conversation with a question.
Set a 2-minute timer.
A question to you, the viewer, and to everyone to ponder leaving this podcast. Are you then saying,
Everyone's left already.
because I said, as someone who studies culture, and everyone was like, snicker, are you then saying that to study a certain concept, you have to study literally every aspect of said concept? Or
No,
you
I would
can't-
just say you study an aspect of culture.
Well, I mean, you know, you could easily shorten that to I study culture, because you study enough of that aspect that you can understand the general whole. Like I study culture. I study things about culture. That means that I can say that I know a certain amount about culture. Maybe
I
it's just
don't-
one aspect.
Study all of art.
Yeah.
That's what I'm referring to. Like
I
you
don't
can.
agree with what you said.
Don't study
It's
all
no
of
different.
art.
It's no different
I
than yes.
study a very, very specific subset.
I'd still say the closest thing to studying culture, to say I study culture, is anthropology.
Because that's,
maybe
by
it is,
definition,
but I-
the study of culture.
Yeah.
But I've studied, like, I find it impossible to
So you study
believe
aspects of culture.
that it's
You study a certain
unreasonable
aspect
for me
of
to
culture.
say I study culture when the classes that I'm in this semester are literally like popular culture.
Hey guys, I studied a
But that's a
menu
certain
once when I
aspect
went
of-
to a restaurant, and now I'm an
Correct me if
expert
I'm
of,
wrong.
culinary
Popular culture is a
experiences.
specific aspect
Nice.
of culture. It's not culture as a whole.
Yeah, but it's also far-reaching
Oh.
enough to connect to many
you.
elements of culture.
Yo, what's
you-
that flying pig? I like that.
Can you please spray Matt once, please, Jarrod?
Why did he get?
Thank you. Thank you. So anyway, do you want to know what I communicate?
What do you communicate,
So you're
Peter?
gonna go from triggering me about freaking culture to triggering me with freaking Temtem.
this looks
please,
pretty
I
good.
just want to finish my statement.
I'm gonna
Peter,
leave-
then we can
I'm
move
gonna
on.
leave this
I go to
podcast.
move on. He interrupts me once again.
What's this?
Spray him again, please. Anyway, what were you saying?
Salty business. You have salty business.
Is your name Minecraft Steve?
Yeah, that's me.
So I have a
so
question about
creative.
this. It's a multiplayer game.
Sorry, just wait. I gotta learn how
It's
to
an
use-
MMO.
Oh, that's
right.
interesting.
Yes,
Yeah.
Temtem.
Wow, it's interesting that you picked Minecraft Steve as your name. That was very uninspired and unoriginal of you. Oh, kind of like this game actually.
Wow.
Anyways,
What are you talking
keep
about? Look at that unique Pokemon.
See, yeah,
Or-
look, there's people
Temtem.
everywhere.
Yo, look at those trees.
Man, this world,
Those are some good trees.
this world is so much fuller than another game I can't remember the name of.
Oh wait, I gotta move the face cam. real
You didn't
fast.
play Sword and Shield, so you can't.
But I did.
You can't make. You didn't. What? You got the game?
This reminds me. I started Nino Kuni finally on the Switch.
Yeah.
And like I do love Pokemon Sword and Shield, but that is one of the areas I have problems. Like playing other JRPGs, like Xenoblade Chronicles or Nino Kuni, the detail in the world is so extensive and
Yeah.
beautiful. And Ni no Kuni's from 2013, so it's like, why couldn't Pokemon be a bit better in the like detail of the world?
Yeah, I mean, well,
That's really my only big complaint from the game
yeah.
that I actually have.
I mean, that's a discussion of its own. How
Yeah.
Game Freak kind of, in one element, really don't know how to make a video game. They just know how to make Pokemon games.
I like that.
That's one of the starters.
Can you tell me about some of the types that they have in this game, or whatever word they use that they looked up in a thesaurus? They called elements.
yeah, is
are
there
they
like a
called-
rock paper scissors type of deal?
It's like Pokemon, but there's a lot.
oh, look at him! I love him.
Chimchar.
Yeah, that's nice.
All right.
If I'm being
that's
honest,
kinda
they
cool.
almost look like a. I mean, within
That's all the ones I've seen.
within respect, it almost looks like they do a little more of a.
What is TV yield referring to? Is
I like
that
the art style.
Where do you see that?
it, like when you're looking at their
like
entries?
pastel.
It said TV yield.
It's literally
Are
like
those
the
just
type, like the
EVs?
Pokemon.
I think so. Yeah,
Shield
that's like SVs.
art style, and
and-
yeah, added a pastel filter over top of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are all players that I can just quickly.
Bird.
So does it have a like? I guess you haven't played too much of it, but
No, I just got to like the first gym sort of thing, and it's all double battles.
So
this
what
game.
was the point of it? Like, what was why was it? Was there a reason it was made? Was it in revolt to Pokemon?
It wasn't revolt. It was just Pokemon fans who didn't think the Pokemon games were going in the direction they necessarily wanted. They didn't think it really grew up with them.
Yeah.
So then they created this as their rendition.
Pajaro. How good is like the character customization?
It's pretty good. It's pretty in depth.
All right.
Okay,
That's
just
good.
wait. I got to move the
And
camera.
you
once
choose like your outfit and pretty much all of the characteristics about your character like before you start the game. So
Nito Burrito.
Yeah, so like you have a certain amount of stamina, and each move takes up a different amount of stamina. And if you
Interesting.
run out, you both hurt yourself a third of your health, and you can't move the next turn.
A third of your health?
It's a good bit of
so
your
it's-
health.
it's-
You do not want to run out of
So
stamina.
it's more strategic on how you have to go about it. Like
Exactly.
you can't, like obviously Pokemon's strategic, but this one like forces you to be extra.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's
Careful.
also certain moves
It's a
that.
different type of strategy.
Yeah.
Hey Austin, hey Dante in the chat. So yeah, and certain moves do like different, more damage, have different effects if they're paired with, let's say, a certain type of Pokemon as your partner. So then it also adds
and
a
like some Marvel or Ultimate Alliance synergy stuff. Mm-hmm. You synergize with other Pokemon. Temtems. Whatever you want to call it.
and each move has like different speed priorities as well. It's not just dependent on your Pokemon itself.
That's very much the same in the games as well, though.
Yeah.
like there's
That'd be the same as
extensive
using
priority
Quick
system.
Attack
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
something.
But I guess the stamina mechanic is supposed to be like the like the replacement for PP.
Yeah.
But it's definitely better at executed. Like if you're doing a competitive battle, you're pretty much never gonna run out of PP, even if a Pokemon is using a move or a technique that intentionally reduces it, because you can.
Competitive Pokemon is like a game of chess.
Yeah. I was doing-
It's all about predicting the opponent's next move and
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
adjusting.
Well, if you get the upper hand, you pretty much.
But I will say this one's a lot harder.
So, sometimes
I can't
Some
just-
people can come back.
I can't just casually stroll through this game. Like I'll go to. I guess I won't go. I'll go to the first gym and get to the. I'm at the gym leader. I got to her. I fought her once, and she absolutely kicked my ass. So we'll see if I can do it again, but I highly doubt it.
What's the kind of grinding like for the most part?
I haven't had to do any grinding like 6-ish hours in yet.
Do you get all your health back once you finish a battle?
No, you don't. But you in this game also you have like an Estus flask sort of thing. It revives down Pokemon and heals them up completely.
How does it? How much does it cost?
This game,
Yeah.
$35
Okay.
Yeah.
in early access.
It's also in early access. Do they generally charge more for an early access game like once
They-
it's actually released?
Yes.
And you're allowed to upgrade to the full game for free?
Yeah. Once you
Kinda
own the
nice.
game, you own the
Yeah.
game.
Yeah. I mean, so
This gym is
usually-
instantly better than most things in Sword and Shield.
I mean, the gym puzzles in Sword and Shield were kind of doo-doos, so this at least has some sort of, more creative elements to it. I don't know. Usually when people like ask me why I'm not more excited about this game, or usually when I say something disdainful about it, it's because it's providing a genuine challenge to Pokemon and showing what the games could be, which I appreciate, but I just kind of feel like knowing Game Freak and just kind of Nintendo as a whole, like they're not going to change their ways from this. So all this really does is to kind of serve as an irritatingly like
well done
knockoff. Well done. Sure, you can pick elements of it that make it intentionally better than Sword and Shield. You can try to do things that you feel like the Pokemon game should be doing mainly, but it's just annoying how blatant of a ripoff it is, basically. Like how they literally have to find synonyms to give names to things that already exist as a concept in the Pokemon games. Like it's just kind of too much of like a direct ripoff, It's like,
but they openly said that's what essentially they were making a Pokemon game.
Shit,
that wasn't a Pokemon.
Well, it doesn't
game.
mean I have to respect it. Like it's just kind of like an uninspired knockoff, which
uninspired. It was made by fans who thought Pokemon could be better.
Well, yeah, but
also if most things in this world have been done prior to the current day stuff, so it's like most things are rip-offs of something. Like you can trace something back to
but not to this like blatant of a degree. Like it literally, like its defining characteristic is that it's like a Pokemon knockoff, that it's basically playing Pokemon just with different names and designs and like for everything, like
different names and designs and battle mechanics.
But wouldn't that be somewhat
and
similar if you did, because this would be like a third party of anything. It's like if you go buy something, but then you find a third party that's just as good. It's a ripoff, but if it's just as good and you enjoy it, then it's not a bad game.
Well, yeah, but I mean, as big of a Pokemon fan as I am, like I don't really respect.
Yeah, no,
like,
totally. I agree. That's fair. I don't know. I guess it's different because when I fall besides BioWare's Mass Effect, Fallout's probably my next favorite game, and the game basically makes its living off of modders changing the game.
He's dead.
So it's like, to me, I always am interested to see what the fans can do, because usually they add a lot of concepts to it that the designers for the games would have missed. So I think it'd be interesting to see how this one turns out in the long run, and it'd be cool to see how it turns out.
I mean, how well do you think the game has to do for there to be like a remote possibility that Nintendo / Game Freak would see it as like a threat or feel like they have any kind of legitimate amount of competition?
It's the second that Pokemon loses a decent amount of sales.
Yeah,
which doesn't really happen, because even though
there's suckers like you who buy the game no matter what every year, even though there's little.
I'm not a sucker
change.
for buying a game that I think is going to be good and
that
I
was
like
the wrong
a
word.
series.
It's true, but point is, like, no matter what Pokemon does, you will buy that game.
Yeah, well,
which is fair, but that's kind of similar to me with Mass Effect and Fallout, where it's like I'll still buy the next Fallout. I like the Fallouts enough that I want to give them a chance. Like multiplayer, that was the first time at multiplayer, and it was okay. Like Erik and I still had fun when we played it. It was just not the super polished game that you'd hope it would be for that kind of company. Not that Bethesda really has a reputation for polished games, but
yeah.
I don't know. Like I can see where Matt comes from there. Like I'll buy games if it's a series that I really enjoy, because usually it's, even if the game's not as good as previous games or it's whatever, it's still nostalgia.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's also the fact that I don't think it's possible for games / franchises as big as Pokemon to have their sales be legitimately affected by competition, because there's people that are always gonna like the Pokemon games to the point that you're gonna keep buying them, right? And then there's also like the kid demographic, like, moms aren't going to the mall and trying to get a copy of Temtem to get their kids. Well, I mean, it's only been out for a short amount of time. It's maybe not the best example, but I just don't see Temtem having like the power that Pokemon does to just get like people to buy it,
Shit.
You suck at this game, Peter.
I feel like it depends on price point.
You know what, Erik?
Yeah.
I don't need this from
It depends what their final price point is, because that dictates a lot of what families get as well.
Yeah.
I mean, like if you have this game and because parents not knowing anything about gaming will buy a game based on like price and probably what its reputation is based on what people have told them.
Not true.
Well, what do you mean?
If you're a parent and you're buying a game for your kid for Christmas, they're going to put on their Christmas list, this is the game I want, and they're going to go to the store and buy it. They're not going to be like, oh, but this game has a different name and it seems like it's the same thing, but it's cheaper. Like, it's just not really how that works. Like, parents are going to buy games for their kids based on what their kids ask them to buy, so it's like, it's not really up to the parents' taste.
Fuck poverty. I spit in its face and I buy my kids what they want.
I don't know. You'd be surprised small companies can come out of nowhere and take storm.
Yeah.
Just look at how established. I mean, when you look at the technology industry, Apple's still a small portion of it. In retrospect to the whole industry.
Yeah.
But look how much of a storm it took over because they tackled a different area. They were not even close remotely to a spec compared to Microsoft when they came out. And then here they come, and now they're a very large brand that came out of nowhere. So it really depends. Like if you can convince enough, you'd be surprised. If they can touch enough people and they're like, hey, look, this is a good game and people enjoy it, it could legitimately put a challenge to Pokemon.
I mean, well, I guess we'll see. It's only in early access right now, right? So
Speaking about touching people, like I'm watching Peter
Okay.
play. Wink. I'm watching Peter.
Sorry, what?
Yeah, I don't know how to feel about
I'm
that.
watching Peter. Listen, roll with it. Shut up. I'm watching Peter play. I'm listening to the music of the art. Like I'm kind of digging it. I like how that one thing gets sad when
Yeah.
he gets hit, and then he's all cheery again on the other parts.
are
It's
you
a
on the
little
verge of
touch.
actually winning this fight?
I
or-
actually might. When that got to 0, he died regardless of health.
Wait, what's that? Sorry, like when his stamina went to 0?
No, there's a ability. It's like Destiny Bond, except it's a timer.
Oh, I see.
Had to put in Pokemon
my
terms
God.
for you.
How do you know how many
Toucan
Pokemon she has?
Sam.
Is it like
It's
the
like-
kind
it's
of
up right here.
grayish thing on the
How
top?
many is there? 2?
Well, no,
You have
Like I have 2, 1, 2, and she had. I can't see because of the stream chat.
She has two.
Too.
Oh, that's good. It's just those 2 then. I could do
Pika
it.
Peek. 2Y.
I'm assuming those
Ooh,
two
I-
are like a grass-esque type, and he has a flying type.
Yeah, that's
Well,
a flying type.
is
That's
this gym supposed to be flying type or is it
This is
type?
water and flying. There's
Water
2.
flying. That is kind of a cool concept that the gym.
So yeah, see, it's red outline. That means it's not effective. So I'm gonna do that one.
Just while this battle's going on, I used some air miles because I got it for next to nothing. I got like a Pokemon sword for like 100 air miles.
You didn't tell me, dog. That's news. That's information that you have to share.
I
with your
played a
friends.
little bit of it.
Yeah.
They totally destroyed the difficulty of your rival by giving him the lesser version.
Yeah.
Like they used to do it where it was like if you picked the water type, he'd pick the grass type. If you picked this,
They haven't
Yeah.
done that for so long.
It's
Have
been
they?
like a,
I
it's
mean, I
been a
guess I
few
haven't really
games.
paid
They didn't do it
attention.
with Sun and Moon. They didn't do. I think they X and Y. I think it's only in Sun and
X
Moon.
and
I
Y
think they
did
started
them.
doing that.
I was gonna say because I knew
Yeah.
that for sure.
Yeah,
I think that's like that was always the fun challenge is like your first, especially
Yeah.
when your rival managed to evolve his before you did, and you're like, oh
Yeah,
shit.
it did symbolize like a frustrating shift, but then I do also like that they like. Did you notice that the champion Leon takes the Pokemon?
Yeah, which
type
I'm
that's
assuming when
strong
you
to
get up there, he's gonna be fully evolved and whatever.
Yeah, and possibly.
I wanted
ruin your
Leon
day.
to kick that leftover Pokemon and just bunt it. Just so you go,
No one wants you.
get out of here.
Yeah,
I don't like the level catching system.
Oh,
that
that
annoys
you
me.
can't catch Pokemon of a certain level. Yeah, I guess so. I think it's just because they want like threateningly strong Pokemon to show up in the wild area, and it'd be kind of.
Well, it's like I have my one Pokemon's like level 15,
Yeah.
and I can't catch a Pokemon that's level 26.
Yeah, well,
Like
I mean,
that seems so dumb to me because
Just
it's
go
like
do the gym.
no, I am. That's the
Or-
point. But like, still, there's Pokemon that I want to get, and it's like not even necessarily just that. From my experience in the wild area, I haven't obviously played it long enough to probably make a good statement about this. But certain Pokemon are automatically a certain level. Like not necessarily. I know evolved Pokemon should be higher
fucking-
level. That makes sense.
yeah.
But like Dusclops, for example, the lowest level I can find of a Dusclops is like 29.
Yeah. Well, if it like appears in the overworld and walks around, it's like supposed to be a big, strong Pokemon that you cannot catch at all. Like, like, or are you talking about Duskull? Like the
Duskull.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, well, so the level scaling is kind of weird with the wild area, but like there's also all these raids around that if you catch a Pokemon in a raid, depending on like how many gyms you have and what the start level of the raid, it's automatically to be a certain level. So,
Yeah.
like, have you done many of the raids?
I've done a few. I don't have online, so I just do them with whichever.
So you got to do them with the
computers.
AI. I'm so sorry, dude.
I mean, we've done pretty good so far. I haven't lost a raid
Dude,
battle yet.
I had an AI. So you know how there's an AI Eevee that likes to use Helping Hand a lot? I had an AI Eevee use Helping Hand on an AI Wobbuffet. who literally
Should use Helping Hand as well.
is literally one of the worst raid allies they could have added to the game. So that like the AI part, the AI part sucks because I kind of feel like they just expected that everyone would be joining your raid all the time, and they just made the AI a bunch of jokers basically. But like if you saw any of the stream, like literally just sitting around with people and being like, oh sick, I found an Axew in this raid, who wants to join, and doing it with other people. And like even if you do it online with people, it's so much more fun. But yeah, I don't know, I think they did a really good job with the game, and I noticed that they brought back a lot of people that had like played games in the past, but then they just kind of lost interest because they stopped being all that good, and this one looked like significant enough of an improvement to be worth getting again. So
Well, graphically, it's an improvement. I don't know. I have fun with it. It's not necessarily. I still say. I mean, I've beaten it, so I can't even really give a good review, and it'd probably be a while before I beat it because. But I'm also taking a new approach to this one. Every other Pokemon I've ever played, I've pre-chosen my party before I played the game, so I know where I have to do more grinding to catch Pokemon. And this one, I'm kind of just going along and finding Pokemon I like, and I'm like, I'm taking that one with me.
Well, I'm glad you're doing that because they made a big mechanic change that they did it with Pokemon Let's Go, but then they brought it back for the bigger games. Like you can go into your PC boxes at any point in time and just switch out Pokemon, and when you do raids, you get EXP candy, so you can instantly level Pokemon up. So geez. So they really are kind of enabling you and kind of encouraging you to like constantly switch the Pokemon that you're using. And so like I had a coworker who was saying he hasn't been having a super good time because he's just been destroying everyone, and it's like he was using like the same team throughout, so there's like super over levels.
Oh, damn.
All right, Erik and Grayden, what would you like to talk about?
I just wanted to try out, the surfboard. Now we can do something else.
Blizzard has played themselves yet again.
Yeah.
Oh, talk about it.
There was the game Warcraft 3. I think it came out like at least over 10 years ago or something. It was a while, and people are hyped. You know, there's still like a dedicated community that plays Warcraft 3. They completely biffed the remaster or something where like a lot of stuff is no longer in it, or like just done poorly. A lot of the upscale graphics just look worse. And one thing I've heard that people are complaining the most about is
Chuckle nose.
if you make a custom game, like a custom game type, like that's how something like Dota 2 is made. You own none of the rights to it, and you waive all of your moral rights to it, or like moral obligations. So like they don't even have to give you credit if they make a game mode out of a custom game that you've made. They could just be like, oh yeah, we made it, it's ours.
The other thing with it is that like people are like, well, why don't you just go back and play original Warcraft 3 then? You don't play like the remaster. They merge the two together, so that's not even an option anymore.
My God.
If you want to play Warcraft 3, you have to play this version.
See, that's so stupid. Like they shouldn't.
There's so many game types that have made by like Griffball, that was made by Rooster Teeth. Dota 2, that was made by a fan in
Diablo, I think.
Yeah, Diablo. And there's so many games like that where it's made by fans and they become full-blown games. I think it's the same with like that auto chess that was like making.
I have a lot of respect for companies who openly appreciate their fan base in a way where it's like if they come up with something that they're like, this person came up with it, we're just incorporating it. That's such a good way to do it. That's how you develop loyalty in your fan base instead of just a consumer. Right?
Blizzard's just being like, hey, you made something for us? Thanks, idiot.
Yeah, so I think that's kind of
Another thing with it too is that when they like first announced this project, they like showed one of the remastered cutscenes, and it was like, ooh, all great. There's like a new cinematic camera and stuff. In the final version, none of that's there.
Wow.
They really, but on the website, they're still using that initial trailer to advertise. So now people are like,
that is a thing that pisses me off the most, I think, in E3. When they come out with some of their trailers where they're
Anthem.
like, it looks absolutely stunning. Like everything about it, you're like, oh my God. And then the game launches like, what the fuck happened between point A when I saw this and now? Did someone leave the company? Yeah. Did you guys go bankrupt and need a new sponsor? Like what happened?
Was there like a power outage and you guys lost everything? What the
Like it's just so stupid. I don't understand why. I understand it's a marketing thing, but why people they have to try to deceive people. It just destroys your fan base.
Like on Metacritic, the user rating right now is 0.5.
I don't know
Ooh.
what happened with like the B developers, like BioWare, Bethesda, and Blizzard. All of them don't know what the fuck they're doing. They have no idea what's going on. They're just like, the fans, fuck them. Let's just shit some bullshit out and hope for the best.
Yeah,
I'm really hoping that with the, I mean, well, we'll move on to the Knights of the Republic stuff after, but I hope with the new games coming out, especially with the response they got on their previous games. I mean, Blizzard might already be shit out of luck because they just seem to keep going like this down.
Yeah.
But the other two, I hope they start to bring in some more quality in their games. Like, again, one of the nice things is Cyberpunk 2077 delayed almost half a year.
Yeah.
Which is good. Like, I'd rather them delay a game, A, because I don't think I would, period, have had time to deal with that right now. But B, because I'd rather them release the game and be like, okay, you know what, it's good to go. You know, obviously there's always release day bugs on almost every game. But for the most part, have a polished game that works and it's fun. Don't just puke out something. Fans will understand, with the exception of maybe a small group, if you say I need to delay a game to make the game better.
Yeah. It's something that even EA picked up on recently. We were talking about this before the podcast, and I think before you guys showed up, where EA like released their sales figures for Jedi Fallen Order, and they were expecting to make like $5 to $6 million or something, 60 million. I forget what it was. It was a lower amount.
It was like 5 to 8, I think.
And they ended up exceeding that, like making 10 million.
To 14.
And so they're like, oh, people want a good single player game that is, you know, finished and without microtransactions. People actually enjoy that. That's crazy.
Well, as soon as you lose people's trust, it's really hard to win it back. Like, as soon as you go, like, if you have it, even if your game's not super good, but it's still an okay game, your fans will be like, okay, you know what, not your best work, but we'll get it and support you. But as soon as you lose their trust, it's like, well, you've just lost your hope.
It took Capcom so long for them to get the trust that they lost back from like all their DLC bullshit that they were doing back in like 2011.
What was that?
It was like day one DLC for like Street Fighter, or like Marvel vs. Capcom, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they would just be putting out like subpar games like Resident Evil 6 as well. People did not like that. And now they have like Resident Evil 7, Devil May Cry 5,
Resident Evil 3 remaster coming out.
that Resident Evil 2. Like they've been Monster Hunter.
Iceborne expansion.
Yeah, like Capcom's been killing it.
Yeah, which is good because I've always respected Capcom as a company. Just sometimes when they blow it, they blow it really big. Like, you know,
like
Marvel
Sega
versus Capcom Ultimate, for example. Why do you have to go straight for my heart like that?
That's why one of the reasons I'm super excited to see what Bethesda does with E3 regarding Elder Scrolls 6, and
I don't think we're gonna hear anything about Elder Scrolls 6.
We're not hearing anything from Sony anymore because they left E3. They're not doing it anymore.
Yeah, for this,
Really? I didn't hear that.
Officially. Well, like,
Yeah.
they haven't done it for a little bit, but now they're like,
they're like officially we're not friends with E3 anymore.
funny blue robot.
It's just because of how the convention has progressed. It's gone more not to the industry side, it's leaning more towards like the consumer side of like, we're gonna sell tickets and anyone can come and like just hang out here
instead of it being more of like an elite, almost an elitist style.
Yeah, it was
convention
like
where it's like big
not invited, but you had to have like a media press patch.
It just works.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it's kind of just more of like a circus now, right? Like, I mean,
It's another PAX.
Yeah,
It's more for the game developers than it is the console companies. Like, it's more, here's my game.
Yeah.
Enjoy it. The consoles are just there as a side.
We'll play this game.
Spend money.
Well, just because Sony doesn't necessarily participate in E3, like they do, they usually do like a big information release around the time anyway. So it's still part of the culture, but
it just kind of sucks to see another like lose a conference that was generally exciting.
Yeah, I guess so. But I don't know. I don't have a ton of respect for Sony these days. I mean, they've come out with like awesome stuff, but I just don't really like care.
It's not Nintendo.
What caused you to lose respect?
It's not. It's not
okay.
respect. I guess
You're-
it's
as
like
I say,
disinterest.
Well,
You
no,
literally,
okay,
you
all
literally
right,
said I've lost respect. They have come out with quite a few good things, but I just
That
don't
was
care.
almost a me statement.
Okay, all right, okay. You know
That
what?
was almost a piece.
That was a fear. This thing's great, but I don't like it.
Well, okay, it's just my issue with Sony is that they, I mean, and you know, on the topic of just kind of like copying an idea from, like, it just kind of seems like they're never really the first to do anything. They just kind of take something that another company is doing well with or had a good idea about. And
Can you
just
give an
make
example?
Their own one of that. They finally just came out with a Game Pass alternative, which is pretty much the exact same thing.
They've had that for a long
They've
time.
had it since
Yeah.
PS3.
Like,
It just wasn't very good. Like it was always there. It just wasn't very good.
like
they
the
actually,
same concept as
They
Game
actually
Pass?
had it
Like,
pretty freaking similar. I think it's like
Now?
Yeah,
Is that what it is?
they've had PlayStation now for a long time. It actually used to be you could go into a world that was like a socializing world where you could walk around as like it was basically Sims, but it was interactive for PlayStation in a way that you could walk around as a person and interact with other PlayStation users, and you'd have information in there. Like,
Sounds like VR.
what does that have
chat.
to do with Game Pass?
no, but I'm saying
Or
that's
game-
what it
or game.
started as, and it became more of a game
Yeah. See,
access thing.
Yeah.
I think what it seems like they were trying to do is that like it's almost what Stadia is trying to do, where like you stream all the games, like because all these games are available on demand. So I think that's why it didn't really work out for them.
I also loved Little Big Planet. I just saw it there in the
Yeah.
middle right.
Yeah.
That's still one of my favorite games.
Well,
of that
I mean,
genre.
that's okay. That's one example of many. Like the fact that they did a PlayStation Classic, the fact that they made PlayStation Move. It just kind of seems like they're good at just kind of picking up ideas that other people are doing well and just making their own version of it, which is like, I don't know, just hard to.
You have
respect.
a real problem with competition and
Well,
I was gonna say that you
there's
literally
a
just-
difference
don't you?
between competition and copying. There's a difference between inspiration and imitation.
So here's
If you
my
just
question.
Why would Sony make TVs? Like,
so here's my question. I'm
Well,
gonna ask
it's
Matt
just-
this.
okay,
Matt,
it's just within the-
so let's look
What
at
the
Motorola,
Okay.
who is one of the original phone manufacturers,
Mm-hmm.
Bunch
and
of
then
punks.
but you have an iPhone. Am I
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah, that's
So you have bought a copycat of a company.
holy shit!
Because you had
Yeah.
bought someone that took an idea from someone else and made it theirs. Because Apple used to be exclusively computers. They were Apple computers, whereas now they're Apple Inc. So they changed to make their marketing more diverse. So they could do more things. But they were not originally a phone company. They were originally computers.
Yeah,
Period.
but I mean, I see the point that you're trying to make, but Apple's not the best example because they started making phones because they realized that the iPod Touch did really well as a phone.
But they still copied
So
the phone.
you're saying
Well, they
they
didn't-
looked at
what,
the
so-
external market and said, "Hey, this would be a
okay.
good idea."
Like,
Probably
they
just
didn't-
like Sony's doing, because wow, Game Pass is doing really well.
Because it's no different than if you look at the PlayStation started with their console with PS1. A lot of people had PS1. PS2 is one of the biggest selling consoles in the world. And then you had Xbox kind of getting into, was it not?
No, I agree with everything you're saying.
And then you had Microsoft come in with Xbox, and then you had Xbox 360, which then that's kind of when the Switch came and Xbox 360 started to do better. It's competition. You have to take up ideas from other companies.
Matt's in the Sony boardroom meeting. He's like, "All right, Xbox is doing this really well. Here's my solution.
do the same thing.
We don't do any of that. We just keep doing what we're doing.
We maintain. We don't change anything.
Be confident in yourself.
Maintain the
Look
current
at
course.
Pokemon. It hasn't changed in so long.
I mean, you could even say that for Live Connection. Like, what are we? We make podcasts, game videos, and
We didn't always stream.
and we saw
we look at
success in
other
it.
people.
We're copying Ninja.
We're going to Mixer.
Bring up Fortnite. Bring it up.
Okay, so maybe I just have an issue with ideas.
I think you just have an
that are-
issue with Sony. I don't
Well,
think there's
no.
literally
I think
nothing
you have,
else
I think
to
you have
it.
an issue with things that you don't like.
That's fine.
Maybe
totally.
that's
issue
fine.
with the way that people can just blatantly take an idea or a concept and just make their own
You hate
version
plagiarism.
of it.
So
with-
why we have Live Connection? that's like a lot of channels have come before it.
Well,
Shit.
Why do you have anything in this world?
Well, okay.
Everything has had a precursor.
Is that the only vest in the world you're wearing? It better not be.
No.
If that's a copycat vest.
You know what?
Only one person can make things once.
I don't know. I'm not. I
Wait,
don't know.
don't you use rental teams in Pokemon?
Are you copying other
Oh
people's?
my god!
Because it's working well and you want to use it.
Did you copy PewDiePie?
Oh,
No, I don't think it's the same thing. This is the hill that I'm willing to die on. I'm
What do
starting.
you mean the hill you're willing to die on?
starting-
You're sitting there in front of a balloon and you're just like pop and it exploded in your face.
And he's like, oh!
I didn't expect.
No, I seriously. Okay, so at the very least, you guys are taking this concept and applying it to like fucking everything. But at the very least, Temtem is a blatant copy.
What? Yeah, we're talking about
not
your
blatant,
dislike
just
for
the same-
Sony, and then you're like, I'm losing this fight. Let's bring it back to Temtem.
Let's switch from one bias to the other.
You're taking the shit I'm saying and just like applying it to other things that aren't necessarily like related. It's just a similar ideology.
I
It's
don't
like,
agree
oh,
with your statement blatant copy because there's so many different features and abilities and things in this other game.
they're-
It's
they're
not a
different,
copy.
but
It's
literally
different.
just like,
Deadpool
this
is a blatant copy of Deathstroke.
Did you like Deadpool?
Isn't no, not really. Isn't
Oh.
that like no? I don't actually really like those movies.
I love Deadpool.
How dare you?
And Ryan Reynolds.
Isn't Deadpool
I love
like
copies.
just intentionally like meant to just like? Isn't it like a parody of the fact that like DC copies a bunch of like Marvel shit?
Yeah.
yeah. So
So you don't like parodies?
I don't like things that are really uninspired
Who's the old man
copies of
now?
already existing things.
How do you like
So
if
Dragon Ball?
if that means that I'm a hypocrite because I use a fucking iPhone, then sure. But
No. So this is my question then. But if it was uninspiring, then it didn't PlayStation 5 outsell Xbox One?
PlayStation 5, the
PS4.
console.
Sorry,
Did you
PS4.
look into the future?
Jarrod!
Oh, I guess I buy a PS5 now.
Sorry, I was thinking about my other topic I wanted to bring up.
See,
But is it-
Chuckles
didn't,
just railing off the examples.
Did
YouTube TV copy Blockbuster? Ideology? Did that copy Socrates?
It's true. Online rentals is really just an online version of physical rentals. from
Shark Tale's
Blockbuster.
copy of Finding
But
Nemo?
my point being is like if it was uninspired, because I'm pretty sure PlayStation 4 outsold Xbox One.
It did heavily.
Absolutely.
So then if it was so uninspired, it would not have outsold PlayStation. It would not have outsold Xbox One if Xbox One was more inspiring than them. Or vice versa. Like the sales speak for themselves. People don't just like, okay, to a degree, people don't just buy things because they'll buy because they either see something more in it. And obviously people saw more in PlayStation this go around than they saw in Xbox One. So thus it's a more inspired console than Xbox One.
Well, I mean, you know, the Xbox One is just a normal controller, and the PlayStation 4 is that same type of controller, but with a touchpad in the middle. So it's
PlayStation's
bringing
controller
more
came
to the
first.
experience.
The
Before the Xbox One?
style of PlayStation's controller has not changed since PlayStation 1 besides them having the sensor on the back and the touchscreen.
you-
The first Xbox controller was a bulky piece of shit.
It was. Yeah.
I loved it.
So because you're using like the like the PlayStation 4 Xbox argument to be like, oh, they're inspired by the other, but like I wouldn't look at the PlayStation 4 and say, oh, it's just a
PlayStation
blatant-
copied Nintendo, actually.
Yeah, I mean they like to. Do
That's
that,
why
but-
Matt's really upset.
um,
Everyone
That's
copied
actually true.
Nintendo.
Yeah. Okay,
PlayStation
so-
had a deal with
okay.
Nintendo, and then Nintendo backed out of the deal, and PlayStation was like, "We're gonna still make our fucking console." So Nintendo could have had a hold on Sony and PlayStation, but they gave it up.
They done
Okay.
goofed.
People like use Xbox and PS4 as like the go-to example for two things that are like competitors or alternatives of each other because they are. But I wouldn't necessarily go like look at like the PlayStation and say, oh, it's a blatant ripoff of or a blatant copy of Xbox because like
Because
you know,
PlayStation
what-
came first.
Well, but like it's like the idea is that like this controller has a touchpad, so it's attempting to deliver the same experience in the console overall, but has different elements to it that bring its own thing, or it seems like a more original idea. If the like PlayStation controller or another console competitor came out and it was, say, like the exact same shape, maybe they just switched
Like
around
the Nintendo Switch Pro controller.
Yeah.
All right.
That's exactly what I was gonna say.
What do you want me to say?
No,
You're
but
right?
this is my question.
Yes.
This is my
What do you
question.
mean?
No, I do have one quick
so many
question. What did you
times.
mean by this made it
That's
similar to that?
Well, so like they're
Why? How is the touch? How is the touch?
I'm on communication major. Communication.
No, I'm not trying to start fires. I'm simply
I'm sorry, I'm
curious.
fired now.
I'm simply curious how this
fire's
is similar
burning,
to
dude.
that.
No, I was trying to say that's what makes the controller not similar to that. Like,
Okay.
it brings a different like element to using it. Like what I'm trying to say, I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Well, no, the reason I'm saying it because you're talking about this controller compared to that controller, but this controller, this whole scheme came first with PlayStation 1.
Okay.
The
but
only thing they added from a PlayStation 1 controller to this controller is this.
Yeah.
And
That
the
was
joystick.
literally
And the
where
joystick, yeah,
where
sorry.
my point was like just centered around was the idea that like you have these two things that they're in competition with each other and they bring out in a lot of ways the same experience, but like the PS4 with the touchpad has a different element to how you can play some of the games. So in a sense, it's a more original idea. So I like something like that compared to like when you have Temtem, which pretty much just takes every idea and makes an alternative for it. Yeah, okay, they slightly
James
adjusted a system to make it something else. Or maybe they made
Temtem can evolve
but
4 times, not
the-
3.
Oh my god.
4.
Have you heard of
No, but
EV, Peter?
I'm still on the PlayStation. I'm not talking about Temtem. I don't give a shit about Temtem.
I was trying to use the PlayStation as an example of why, like, because the you're trying to make the argument that so many things in the world are copy that because I don't like things that are blatant copies, I should hate like
Do you
my,
hate The
my
Simpsons?
iPhone.
Twix is a copy of Kit Kat.
No, because you take something, it's like, yeah, it can be a copy to a degree. Everything is like, because you see something works, you're going to adopt that and try to make it your own.
Top
And that's
hop.
like what every company does is they adopt. If they see something's working, they're going to try to adopt that. You'll see the whole shift.
That's
to
not true,
adopt that.
Shackle.
Hey Matt, I got bad news for you, buddy. You're
Yeah.
not the first one to go for a communications degree. So that's just you're copying someone else. I'm sorry.
You better just drop out.
You have to back out. You got to find some creative, original idea to start your life.
Just approach the university. I need a unique degree. Like only I
I'm the
can
first
get.
one to get this.
There's nothing wrong with not liking something because most people they'll pick a company and they'll stick with it because of why that company exists. They really agree with, or they see a connection with that. So that's why a lot of people when you look at Apple, although they have they're a large company if you think of like when you compare it to us, but when you compare it to the technology industry as a whole, they're not. But they have a very dedicated, like almost a cult following to their product.
Which they kind of shaped.
But they targeted the person instead of the business, which
Yeah.
is something that was unique, and that's why they exploded so much. But
What
like,
happens from faction-based approaches? It's like
Hmm.
it's like
words.
Fallout New Vegas. If you go all in on one faction, the other faction's not going to like you as much. That's just how it works.
yeah, so it's like if you were to compare any of the consoles to Nintendo, you'd probably side with Nintendo because you are a fan of Nintendo. You like their product. So it's like it's okay not to like something, but to say necessarily something's uninspired because it has similarities to it. Yes, okay. Excluding this, I'm not talking about Temtem. Okay, I'm talking purely consoles because you
Temtem
made a
is a
comment about
copy.
PlayStation. So I'm just saying, like, it's okay not to like a console. Like, for the longest time, I was a PlayStation person, and that's all I played on was PlayStation. I'd always make fun
You
of
were a
them.
And you were
PP.
allowed to be wrong.
Yeah, exactly. I was allowed to be wrong. And but for the most part, like, I don't know. It's all based on what you like. If you like something, you're probably going to say the other thing's not as good. That's just most people are going to say that. They're going to find a reason why the other thing isn't as good because they like their thing and they want to make their thing better than the other thing.
Did you just describe Matt?
So that is what I was trying to get across with my statement. I wasn't saying it was bad that you don't like Sony. I'm saying it's okay to not like them, but it's all based on the fact that you like another company. That's why you don't like them. It has nothing to do with what they're
Their
doing.
lack of original content.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with that. It has purely to do with the fact that you are a dedicated
Concepts
fan
and
to
ideas
other.
and hardware.
Matt, what about like custom Pokemon campaigns? Is that acceptable?
Like
Like the
ROM hacks
modded
and,
mod.
like,
I have no idea what they
fan-made
are.
games.
Because that's very clearly copying. That's not real though.
I mean,
But I know you've played them.
I played like one. Okay, so freaking roll it back.
Hey, Matt.
Yes.
Did at some point you got really excited? We play a lot of D&D. You got really excited about the idea of having a Pokemon themed D&D.
Temtem D&D.
that's like a crossover. You know? It's not like the same
Sure.
thing.
Well, you could say something similar. I mean, again, there's quite a few differences between these two games, but you look at Harvest Moon versus Stardew Valley.
Harvest Moon's trash now.
So you could say though, because Harvest Moon was like the first. I think it was the first that
Like
style
farming
of,
simulator type game.
and now Stardew's come in. It's by a third party person, has nothing to do with that company. Harvest Moon still makes their games, but people have now shifted to Stardew Valley, I think, for the most part. And it's just that's an industry that was big because I played a lot of the Harvest Moon games, but then Stardew Valley came out. I was like, man, this game is the same, but made things a lot better and
Does it right.
Yeah. So it's like, I don't know. I feel like having fans pick something, because just because a dedicated team has made a game for a long time doesn't mean they're doing right by that game. Bethesda, great example.
I mean, Game Freak.
So it's like that's what I'm saying. So it's like it's not really bad. Like having something like this is not necessarily the fact that they're trying to overtake Pokemon. Temtem is trying to push Pokemon in a direction that they're like, oh, this is what the fans are looking for. If this game gets good reception, most likely you're going to see a form of the things that were good in this game put in the next Pokemon game because they'll review it as essentially a fan-based complaint, right? So it's like this is good because it evolves the main game. And if the main game doesn't evolve, then the new game is going to take over.
Capitalism.
Pay with your wallet.
Pokemon has a monopoly. Things don't improve. Competition is good. That's my TED Talk.
Wow. Now no one needs to get a business degree because you've just explained it all right there.
Peter, do you study culture in your business?
You know, I do actually.
It just keeps coming back full circle.
It's just
This is the Matt Gets Triggered podcast.
Honestly,
a way about
this
something.
is 2 weeks in a row. It's just whoever sits in this chair. Because Evan was here last.
It's like the roast seat right there.
So
All right.
we're sadly at the end of our time for time.
I want to talk about geography.
I don't know if it's sadly. I think it's a good thing that we're getting the
I want
fuck out.
to ask you guys a closing question.
Okay.
When Temtem eventually releases out of early access and it's out on all consoles, Xbox, PlayStation, wherever you want, are you guys gonna buy it?
Yes.
I'll probably buy on the Switch, yeah.
I'll see how it is. It depends what I have going on.
No, I will not be buying it.
If you said anything
Matt
other than
will
no,
buy it because all of us will have it on the Switch, and then he'll feel left out.
We should have a launch day live stream.
Oh,
We get
24
pre-order food.
Subway.
I'm going to order my food 3 weeks in advance.
That was this week's podcast, episode 408. What are we on?
37.
37.
I'm Eric. Matt's Matt. Jared's Jared. That's Grayden. Grayden's not Grayden. Grayden's
No,
Peter.
I'm Jack.
Peter's
Oh.
Jared.
So much confusion.
Yeah.
Bye.
We're going to do stuff and do things. We're streaming tomorrow, Peter and I.
And then I'm
Check it
streaming
out.
on Tuesday.
Yeah.
With Evan, I think, if he actually streams. Otherwise,
I want to see another failed Fallout stream.
Shut up. You know what I had to do? Oh, it's so stupid.
Thanks for watching. We're outie here.
Love ya.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.